All right, we're getting into it. I'll look at the I haven't seen the exclusive Hamas interview that HuffPo did. I think that's great. We'll look at I Show Speed and Logan Paul at WWE. I felt bad that I banned that one chatter for like a week when he was in the chat being like WWE WrestleMania's tonight. WrestleMania's tonight. WrestleMania's tonight. WrestleMania's tonight. And I fucking banned them for a week. And then I felt bad about it. I thought about it a lot afterwards. But yeah. Oh no, I got the playlist, I think. Or maybe not. I didn't get the playlist. But yeah, I want you guys to send me your favorite conspiracy TikToks from the eclipse, which we will take a look at later. Okay? Like this.
Will be starting up their particle accelerator on the same day as this total solar eclipse. Now, mind you, that this demon face syndrome has just become a thing and people are talking about it. But me personally, I think all of this is tying into each other because the solar eclipse is already a spiritual significant day of these two celestial bodies doing what they're doing. And we both know the sun and the moon has a spiritual effect on our emotions and who we are as a whole.
I'm pretty sure that
So on top of that, you'll also have the particle accelerator and them trying to create.
Yeah, you get on time at the WWE chatter, Weeby.
A portal to see, or whatever they do, they're trying to see how this universe was made. They're trying to figure out the building blocks of how this universe was made. And they're going to be starting that up again on the same day of this spiritual significance total solar eclipse. Now, I'm going to always call it how I see it.
I'm telling you right now, this person is unironically dumber than a medieval peasant. Okay? This person who has all of the tools, all of the access, like the bounties of the internet, so much information. He could go to the local library and read. He could ask questions to people. Okay? He could ask a knowledgeable person to learn what's going on. And yet, here he is, unironically dumber than a medieval peasant. I'm talking Neanderthal level, okay? We are operating at a level that Neanderthals operated at in 2024. How is this possible? He probably has more information than you about this topic. Yeah, the demon face topic.
People might start seeing demon faces on people after this solar eclipse, after CERN starts up their particle accelerator and get into what they're getting into, trying to figure out the building blocks of how this universe was made. So, yeah, logically, I'm gonna think that, yeah, people might start seeing people for who they are.
Yeah, logically, he's thinking logically, chat. I don't think you understand. This is actually logic at play. That's it.
Actually are. People might start seeing demon faces on people.
And before you say like drugs are wild, bro, this dude is not on drugs, okay? This dude is just on TikTok. That's it. This dude is just on modern American existence. It's so much more powerful than just like consuming drugs. Because when you take drugs, unless you already have like some kind of a condition ahead of time, like early stages of like schizophrenia or whatever developing in your mind, the thing is like you're going to do the drug, you're going to fucking pop off for a little bit, and then it's going to be gone. It's going to be done. Okay? That's usually how it works for many people. Unless you have like, I don't know, unless you unlock like a schizophrenic episode or something. Maybe you combined like weed with Adderall, and you already had that genetically, you were predisposed or whatever. Okay? This dude is hallucinating despite the fact that he's lucid. Okay? Or not schizophrenic, mania, yeah. So that's the thing. I don't think these guys are operating on drugs. I think they're sober. Why am I yawning this early? Oh my god, my brain thinks the sun went down. My circadian rhythm is fucked up. I think it's nighttime. It's bed by time.
It only makes sense, and that's their excuse. Their excuse is, oh, it's a syndrome now, and people are experiencing this. No, it's things are getting a lot more spiritual, and things are becoming a lot more clear, and the veil is lifting. So they're going to come out with some excuse of why people are seeing the truth. Things have been getting a lot more spiritual since 2020 lockdown, and they're trying to gain full control of this natural occurrence and put their own spin to it. Because why is CERN starting up their particle accelerator on the same day?
Dude, oh my God. Oh my God. I love that they talk about CERN too. Rare disorder makes people think they're seeing demonic faces like a creature from a horror movie. It's called prosopometamorphosia. Fuck, that's hard to read. Holy shit. Prosopometamorphosia. And it causes people's faces to appear grossly stretched out in demon-like ways. Very rare disorder. People watch too much Grimm. It's just, that's it, I guess. It just makes people look demon-like. I don't know. The patient had a history of bipolar affective disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder. Additionally, had a significant head injury at the age of 43. At the age of 43 years that led to hospitalization. He also had possible carbon monoxide poisoning at the age of 55 years, which occurred 4 months prior to the onset of the distortion symptoms. Bro, when in doubt, assume that it's carbon monoxide poisoning, actually. When in doubt, always assume it's carbon monoxide poisoning. Because like a lot, so many of these like ghost sightings and like paranormal activity shit is just straight up carbon monoxide poisoning. There's a YouTuber who had a brain disorder that causes a habit. It happens when your brain is damaged and you no longer recognize human faces. This is why I keep spamming Science Sunday, Science Saturday. Like, I want this chat to not only be politically literate, but scientifically literate. Science is so fucking sweet and awe-inspiring, and it will be what brings humanity together. Oh, shut up, nerd. Oh my God. Oh, let's do science. Lame. No, thank you. Not interested. I'm going to do this thing instead.
As this solar eclipse. Why? It sounds like some sci-fi shit. It sounds like something out of a movie. Like they're trying.
Bro, I'm an actual scientist, and that was lame as fuck. Thank you.
This is what they don't.
Oh my God, bro, there's so many of these. It's so good. It's so good.
Go extra measures until they fuck around and find out, and then we all doomed. And then they mess up the harmonic balance of this world. And that's why people might start seeing demon faces on people and people faces shape-shifting and shit. This is just my thoughts, and it's very well logically put, but I'm not gonna say this is a solid thing. I'm just articulating my thoughts in the way that I see it, in the way that I'm connecting dots. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. If you haven't heard about the demon face syndrome, it's going around on TikTok. You can search it.
Bro, it's the craziest part is like once people hear about this, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I have it." I feel like we are infinitely more susceptible to idiotic like mass episodes like this. You know what I mean? Like mass psychosis due to social media than we think we are. Like mass hysteria is honestly so much more common. You make me feel like a Harvard graduate. This new demon face syndrome is a cover for what's coming. If your spiritual eyes are open, you will see demons in people all the time. That's why I can't look at people in the eyes too long, because as seer, I see the soul, not the phase. Bro, you just described being like socially kind of anxious. It's normal. Most people can't look at people in the eyes for too long. You know what I mean? Everybody's got a little bit of that. Everybody's got a little bit of that dog in them, you know what I mean? If you can't look at them at all, it's like, I assume it's like a little bit more autistic than if you can look at them a little bit, right? Isn't that normal? Who can just look into the eyes of another person for like, you know, extended periods of time? That's like kind of weird. Is this where I find out I have autism? No, like I don't think it's an autistic trait to just be like I can't look into someone's eyes for, you know, an incredibly long period of time. It's weird, bro. It's a weird ass thing. There's also a need to be specialist, like the whole empath thing. I think it's weird as hell to constantly look into the eyes of a person. That's weird, man. That's a weird ass thing to do. Anyway, all right. Asking Chad if he's normal. Yeah, that's a dumb question. You're right.
It up. And you can also search up CERN is starting their Hadron Collider on this specific day of this spiritual significance. So something's going on.
Something's going on, guys.
Most likely the energies will shift on this realm. Yeah. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments.
Oh my God. Something's going on, guys. All right, let's do this one.
Don't want you to know about manifesting on the solar eclipse. So one, this is the most powerful portal for change that you will.
They don't want you to know about manifesting on the solar eclipse, okay? They don't want you to know about this. This is a secret. I love the presentation. It's always like I got something going on. I got something secret that like nobody wants you to know about, okay? This is a big secret. It's a big fucking deal. You didn't know about it. You didn't hear about it. They don't want you to know about it, but I'm going to tell you.
Ever have in your lifetime. And that is because we are splitting into the new earth. Now, the rules here are a little bit different. They are not like they were on the old earth. This new earth is about spiritual development and merging with your highest version of yourself. This new earth is all about spiritual growth, spirituality, and knowing thyself. So long story short, we're going into a whole parallel earth. And the reason they aren't telling you any of this is because each version of earth has a different version of you on it. And while most of us in a spiritual community, we can handle that, but most people, they lose their minds. This is why this is the most important.
Yeah, we can handle it. Like this is a earth-shattering truth that will fuck up people's lives, like normal people's lives, but we can handle it. You know what I mean? Yeah, Earth DLC, dude.
Important time that you will ever have in your life, because this is the time that you have to merge with your highest version. If you want to get on the highest version of Earth, the easiest way to do that is to identity shift, and I'm going to tell you how to do it really quick in this video. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find your highest desire or your highest excitement. That is because your highest self lives on that frequency. So even though it's a desire, it's just a carrot on a stick. Then you're going to ask yourself, who would I have to become in order to feel worthy or to have that? And when I say that, I mean, what habits are going to have to change? Which standards are going to have to change? What things don't you accept as that new version of you that you accept right now? Then last, just to keep you on track and to keep your spirits up while you're doing this transition, you have to ask yourself, what does this version of me wear? How does she wear her hair?
How much is this genuine delusion on the part of the creators versus pandering to the 14-year-olds who ruled the algorithm? No, it's genuine delusion. I don't think, first of all, I don't think 14-year-olds are like really excited about New Earth. This is a wonderful narrative if you are already an adult and life is shit and you want like desperately for things to get better and you want to believe in a higher power that will change everything. 14-year-olds don't care about this stuff as much as they care about, like, I don't know, TikTok Riz Party. This comes from a place of desperation. It comes from a place of desperation that only adults have, okay? When they are like literally desperately looking for an anti-materialist out, basically. Like, think about it this way, okay? Think about it this way. You're an adult, you go to work every fucking day, you're working, you had these dreams when you were younger, they did not get real, you did not materialize them at all, and now you just do this fucking pattern of behavior and you want a coping mechanism because you know that you don't have enough disposable income to buy a $5 a month subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime at the top of the hour at the Hasanabi broadcast, which means you're going to see a 3-minute ad break. So what do? You start looking for a spirit bomb. You're like, please, someone give me a fucking sub. Jesus Christ, I need a W in a sequence of L's that have strung along. And sometimes that W comes for you, like Weasley Little Liar just gifted 5 gifted subs, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour, right? And it's just like, that is where this kind of thinking comes from, where you're just like, I really desperately hope that there's better out here, that I won't see the 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour. You know what I mean? Hasanabi had Eclipse talk.
You guys know that this whole eclipse business is just a giant hoax, right? Why does he call himself Dark Biden? Because he's gonna turn off the sun.
Here's
Why?
The 3-minute ad break now, by
to
the way.
distract you. As soon as everybody's looking up and as soon as those lights go out, that's when they're gonna sneak in the illegals. That's when they're gonna.
Okay, dude, this is like this is a meme. Hasanabi head eclipse talk. How is this a Hasanabi head? He didn't even follow me on TikTok, bro. What do you mean he's a Hasanabi head? Don't open your eyes when looking at the sun, please, bro. Just stop, okay? Stop with this like, oh, I'm so scared. Don't look at the sun. Okay, I did it, and yeah, sure. Right now, it feels like my cornea has a sunspot in it, but that's kind of cool because guess what? Guess what? It's like I have the sun. He stole Hank Pecker jokes. Yeah, there's a really big spot in my vision. It's fine. It's a cool thing. It's like I have the sun with me at all times. Okay? It's not a big problem. Yeah. It's like I'm carrying the eclipse with me everywhere I go. It's like I'm carrying the sun with me everywhere I go. People are so dumb. One of the most watched eclipse live streams on YouTube is a fake SpaceX stream featuring deepfake Elon Musk promoting a crypto scam promising 2x return. Currently at 164,000 live viewers. I think this probably is. This probably has. It's probably botted. Honestly, like I don't think these like fake streams get that many real viewers. I'm sure that there are a lot of real viewers in it too, but like, look at the live. Okay, we're back. We should be. Yeah, we're back. Fucking Christ, that's so annoying, dude. This is what you get for looking at the sun. I hate this shit so much. Yeah, it went away for a little bit. It's, dude, look at my upload. You want to see my upload on that? Look at my upload, chat. That was my upload. That's awesome. I love American ISPs. Nothing wrong with it, you know? Just great stuff. Get your eyes checked. Yeah, this is New Earth me. New Earth. Upload speed isn't even above the legal limit for drunk driving. Yeah, if I fucking had a couple beers, I could drive like that. Totally legal, above board. That's us whenever you post your nips. Funny how these once in a generation eclipses keep happening every 5 to 10 years. Ay, bro. Ay. People are so fucking goofy with it. People are so nutty with it, dude. They're freaking goofballs, son. All right, what is this?
99% of Americans don't know that the upcoming solar eclipse will be the realization of a prophecy from the Bible, dating back over 2,000 years. On April 8th, a rare total solar eclipse will plunge parts of...
This is AI, right? This isn't even like actually Andrew Tate. I'm pretty sure this sounds like AI voice. God, it's like hard to fucking figure it out too. Hold on, I gotta pee.
Into darkness in the middle of the day. The shocking part is, this eclipse will pass over 8 towns called Nineveh, which is the same city in the Bible where the prophet Jonah warned of God's wrath. Additionally, the constellation Cetus, symbolizing a whale, will be visible during the eclipse, echoing the biblical narrative where Jonah is ingested by a whale before he admonishes Nineveh for its sins. Jesus also mentioned Jonah's sign in the scriptures. In Matthew 16:4, Jesus draws upon this story. Historically, right before Nineveh repented in the story, there was a solar eclipse called the Bersagale eclipse. This astronomical event was said to have caused the pagan city to turn away from false gods and back to the truth. Records of this eclipse were also found in ancient Assyrian artifacts, verifying it happened. America has strayed from God and embraced secular values. This solar eclipse very well may be a sign from the heavens that the door for repentance are closing, just as in the story of Nineveh in the Bible after the astronomical event occurred.
Okay, it is obviously AI. Andrew Tate doesn't know enough about the fucking Bible to even make a fucking assessment like that, okay? Obviously it's stupid, but it's also definitely AI. The fuck? Am I crazy? I feel like this pic goes hard, dude. Like, I kind of want to fucking post this. 2004 GFX design is my passion. Serving straight cunt today. This is without the fake chroma added. I like it with the fake chroma. It's kind of mid, not gonna lie. Okay, shut up. Album cover for your new bedroom pop solo project. All right. We'll go back to like some of these dumbass conspiracies in a moment. But before we continue with these dumbass conspiracies, let's get to the real news, okay? Donald Trump says abortion rights should be decided by individual U.S. states. That's right. He came out of the gates swinging after Donald Trump, or at least his team, leaked a possible federal abortion ban at, 12 weeks? He has now gone back on that and has come out with a different approach that I assume was a little bit of a test to see how the public would react. I guess they didn't like the reactions of the public, so now Trump is trying to hit this whole like states' rights for abortion argument again, which is really fucking stupid. But to be fair, there's not really anything he can do about it. He's just desperately trying to massage the narrative as he has these two conflicting forces within the Republican Party. Two conflicting forces within the Republican Party. The 30% evangelical Protestant base that is like really excited about criminalizing abortion unconditionally. And then the rest of the fucking country that says that that is unhinged and insane. Everybody understands that obviously this is a deeply unpopular and undesirable agenda, and that everyone also knows that it is entirely the fault of the Republican Party, so they have no out for it. Let's take a look.
Donald Trump has said that abortion rights, expected to be a key issue in November's presidential election, should be decided by individual states. Mr. Trump said he was responsible for the 2022 Supreme Court decision ending a federal right to the procedure, adding that in his view, abortion was now where everybody wanted it to be from a legal standpoint.
This is also my favorite take because it's such a fucking stupid lie. It is such a funny and such a dumb fucking lie, where he was like, every legal scholar wanted me to overturn Roe v. Wade. Every legal scholar from both sides, which absolutely not, okay? All the way from every part of the Federalist Society. There's some woke ones in there, folks, and they all wanted it.
He didn't specify a gestational week at which he would ban abortion, but he said he supported exceptions for rape, incest, and to protect the life of the mother.
Many people have asked me what my position is on abortion and abortion rights, especially since I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted, and in fact...
That's so funny. All legal scholars, both sides, they all wanted it. Bro, he looks so fucking bad, by the way. God damn, son. What the fuck happened? He looks like he burnt a little too hard. He is now officially looking like the rotisserie chicken. He has never looked more like the rotisserie chicken that's been out too long under that fucking lamp. Possibly at Mar-a-Lago. They're serving it. Than this very moment. God damn, dude. It's too much. It's way too much.
Demanded be ended. Roe v. Wade. They wanted it ended. It must be remembered that the Democrats are the radical ones on this position because they support abortion up to and even beyond the 9th month. The concept of having an abortion in the later months and even execution after birth, and that's exactly what it is. The baby is born, the baby is executed after birth, is unacceptable, and almost everyone agrees with that. My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal...
They're killing the baby beyond abortion. Post-birth abortion, folks. It's called execution, but the Democrats call it post-birth abortion. It's like, no, that's called a murder. There's a different word for that. He's still running this line. It ain't gonna work, big dog. Okay? This whole idea of like hypothetically Democrats want to kill your children only works before you actually take legislative action. Once people take legislative action, everyone is going to hyper focus on the action and the impact of said legislative action, right? Republicans can always get away with having incredibly cruel policy prescriptions as long as they don't actually act out on them. When we are living in the post-Roe v. Wade abolition or post-Roe v. Wade decision overturning a Roe v. Wade, everybody understands what the fuck's going on. Everybody understands who's responsible for it. Okay? If you live in a red state, if you live in like Texas, for example, and you hear stories about, you know, mothers who are who wanted to have a third child, let's say, and they have an ectopic pregnancy, and they cannot, they do not have a viable fetus, and they can't get this life-saving medical procedure. Everybody sees that. Everybody recognizes exactly what's going on there, and nobody cares about like possibly the fact that Democrats want to execute babies or whatever. Okay? And when I say everybody, I'm incorporating Republicans into the equation as well, because while many Republicans before the Roe v. Wade overturning would have possibly fantasized about like how far the Democrats were going, how far the Democratic Party was wanting to go with like forcible abortions for every woman or whatever, now they have to deal with the very likely reality that like their daughters might have to get an abortion, and they can't get an abortion now.
Standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land. In this case, the law of the state. Many states
laugh as much as you want. Nobody really cares about women unless they think it will quite literally affect their close ones. No, for sure. That's precisely what I'm saying, as a matter of fact. Republicans did not care about this issue or cared about it in the opposite direction until it became a reality. And now they're recognizing like, oh shit, maybe this wasn't a great idea. And by that, I mean people who historically voted Republican, let's say, white college educated voters in the suburbs that historically voted for the Republican Party, that never really considered how devastating it may be to shut off access to a medical procedure that is safe. It is a decision that should be left up to the doctor and the patient. Putting the state in between that, all of a sudden made this theoretical reality a very real one that will impact them, their loved ones, possibly in the future or even now. That's it. By the way, you basically just described conservative thinking. It's like kind of sad, but it is exactly how conservatives operate. The way they operate is it doesn't matter to me unless it directly impacts me. Okay? That's why Dick Cheney was fine with LGBT rights to a certain degree, because his daughter is a lesbian. Oftentimes, when you have a loved one, when you're a Republican, you do not demonstrate the capacity for sympathy or empathy until it personally impacts you. Okay? There are plenty, depending on how stupid they are, that will still demonstrate cognitive dissonance. That's why you have a lot of second-generation Latino voters who vote Republican and advocate for staunch, strict, white nativist immigration policies, not realizing that they are the sons and daughters of undocumented migrants, for example. Okay? That's why you have a lot of, as long as you can mystify the impact of specific types of legislation, you will still have a lot of Republicans that vote for policies that hurt them. As long as there's a dream, for example, that you can massage into the minds of many Americans. What do I mean by this? Plenty of middle class and below working class Americans that vote for the Republican Party do so with the underlying assumption, okay, that they think they are going to make it, that they too will be millionaires one day. That's why they need the tax cuts. Okay? They don't realize that those tax cuts are not beneficial for them. Those tax cuts are beneficial for the wealthy, which they will never be. Okay? It is one of the most prescient takes of all time from the author of Grapes of Wrath. The idea that socialism will never work in America. I mean, he wrote about the Great Depression extensively. Joseph Steinbeck. The idea that socialism will never work in America because the working class in the United States of America do not see themselves as an exploited proletariat, but temporarily embarrassed millionaires. John Steinbeck? Oh, it's not Joseph Steinbeck. I'm so used to calling everybody Joseph Robinette. Joseph Steinbeck. Joseph Robinette Steinbeck. See, I fuck up sometimes, okay? Anyway.
Will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart, or in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important to vote. At the end of the day, it's all about...
This is kind of lame too, by the way. Just vote. Go out and vote. Folks, please go out and vote. Okay, bro. Okay, Democrat. Kind of sounding like Hillary Clinton a little bit, huh? What's happening there?
Will of the people. That's where we are right now, and that's what we want, the will of the people.
Well, Michael Scherer, national political reporter with The Washington Post, gave me his reaction.
Well, he's definitely been leaning in that direction for a number of months. There were a couple kerfuffles during the primary in which he said similar things about not wanting a federal ban, or his campaign did, about Republican voters needing to respect the will of the people. And then he would back off of that because he was in a Republican primary. This is really a political move. He's got an enormous headwind, and actually, Republicans running statewide for Senate have an enormous headwind. Abortion has really motivated Democratic voters, and he's trying to dampen down that issue. He knows it's something that really threatens to defeat him in November, and he's trying to take away the idea that as president he would push for a federal ban, even though during his term as president he did push for a 20-week ban. And members of his party are going to continue to push for a ban, and he's previously said he would work something out. This won't change what the Biden campaign's doing. They're going to spend, $200-300 million on advertising, saying that the reason in a lot of these key swing states you no longer have the same access to abortion is President Trump and Roe, and probably surfacing some of his old comments in which he did call for basically a ban on abortion. I mean, at one point, and he took this back, he even called for prosecution of women who had abortions. So this doesn't take the issue off the table, but he's hoping it will reduce the severity of it for himself.
And I know it's very early because this statement has only just come out, but is it likely to...
So the reason why he's doing it's a states' rights issue is because he is trying to at least secure, win back some of the voters that he lost to the Democratic Party because of the abortion stuff in purple states. Because red states, they're they have their own they have their own perspective on the matter, and he's trying to say to the blue states, you can keep your abortion if you want it. He's trying to desperately massage out of this this devastating predicament for the future prospects of the Republican Party. This is something that I have brought up quite a bit as soon as Roe v. Wade was overturned, and this is at the heart of the Republican Party's major issue to begin with. It's one that transcends beyond Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a manifestation of it, though. He is a perfect human representation of this genuine problem, because Republicans have gotten so successful at meeting their agendas and genuinely pushing forward with their ideology that is oftentimes incredibly restrictive, that they are a victim to their own success. Yes, the dog caught the car, if you will. Dog chases the car, but what happens when the dog catches the car? You know what I mean? So there is a real problem within the Republican Party, and they are trying to desperately either move away from this issue, never really talk about it at all, or try to, reframe the narrative that like, no, people wanted this actually. Enough people actually wanted this. That's not the case. The overwhelming majority of Americans, as a matter of fact, did not want this. So much so that they fucking despise the Supreme Court because they recognize how undemocratic it is. This is not the will of the people at all. There will be political punishments. Those political punishments have come down already in the, ineffective midterm election that happened for the Republican Party. They still obviously took over the House of Representatives, but even then, there's another party within there's another issue within the House of Representatives, which is another Republican principle, the principle of obstruction, the perma-obstructionist attitude that many factions within the Republican Party are cooking their own agendas in some ways and making them look very stupid and in a state of disarray permanently. That's why you had the speaker drama that occurred. That's why Mike Johnson personally is still experiencing some of those issues as well, given the way that the Republican Party is structured. Hard to win those voters back when their middle-class kids can't even buy Plan B safely over the counter? Yes.
Reduce opposition from potential supporters?
So I think it's a complicated question. I don't think we know the answer. There is going to be some backlash from the right, from his conservative evangelical supporters who have long supported federal
I don't think there will be. I'm going to be honest. I don't think there will be a major backlash from the evangelicals. I think they're like pretty happy.
Legislation restricting abortion. He's basically ruling that out here. He has previously supported federal legislation. Now, whether those people stay home or vote third party is an open question. They probably don't. I don't think this has, it's a matter of degree. It doesn't change completely the conversation. If you look at a lot of the states where this presidential election is going to be decided, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, abortion is very much a live issue on the state level. The only reason it's a live issue on the state level is that Roe v. Wade was overturned, and President Trump is claiming credit for overturning Roe v. Wade. So it doesn't take him out of the conversation about abortion. And I think Biden will be able to go to voters and say, look, the reason you're concerned that you or your daughter or your wife are going to have trouble getting abortion access right now is that President Trump did this, and President Biden is running on a platform of restoring Roe v. Wade on the federal level.
This is what Donald Trump said this morning about the thorny issue of abortion.
So here's also a little bit of clapback from Donalde. Okay. Here is also another clapback from Donalde against Lindsey Graham and others in the party. Trump on Truth Social takes a swipe. This is from Jill Coven, the national political reporter for the Associated Press, covering Donald Trump's latest Truth Social post. Says, Trump on Truth Social takes a swipe at Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, and others who have been pushing for a national abortion ban. People like Lindsey Graham that are unrelenting are handing the Democrats their dream of the House, Senate, and perhaps even the presidency, he writes. Senator Lindsey Graham is doing a great disservice to the Republican Party and to our country, he wrote, adding, we cannot let our country suffer any further damage by losing elections on an issue that should have always been decided by the states and now will be. Okay? That's what's going on here. He is reading the room, recognizing that the room fucking stinks, okay? Seeing how bad it looks and trying to re-triangulate the message, but I don't think it's a salvageable message. I don't think there is a way you can message out of this because Americans are not very smart, as you all know. Okay? Americans are very fucking dumb. And because they're very fucking dumb, there are moments of clarity where they can't be swayed away from their opinion with complex thinking. Okay? What do I mean by this? What I mean is, what you see is what you get. They know that abortion is restricted in red states. They know some of the complications that come from that. They fear that their loved ones might be impacted by it. So it doesn't really matter when you go with this theoretical states' rights approach, because it already happened. If it hadn't happened, then you could, massage the narrative. You can fucking say stuff like, oh yeah, Democrats want to kill your children. Democrats want to come to your house and like abort your baby. Okay. But when something does happen, well, they're focused on the thing that's happening in front of their eyes, right? We are no longer at hypotheticals at this point. We've moved beyond the hypotheticals at this point, right? Here's Lindsey Graham replying to him. I respectfully disagree. This is what I think sparked the Trump drama the girls are fighting. I respectfully disagree with President Trump's statement that abortion is a states' right issue. Dobbs does not require that conclusion legally, and the pro-life movement has always been about the well-being of the unborn child, not geography. Now, Lindsey Graham is at least somewhat logically consistent here, which is a weird string of words that I never thought I would say. But he's technically right. If you think it's murder, then it's not about states' rights. You want to stop murder. Why the fuck would you be like, yeah, you can do as many murders as you want in California? However, there is an extent to the logic that these guys apply, because the real ones, the real rabid, psychopathic, Christo-fascist weirdos, the evangelical Protestants that think abortion is definitely murder because life begins at conception, also want to stop in vitro fertilization. They are the ones who also want to stop abortion permanently. They want to make sure that you criminalize abortion, even in instances of incest, even in instances of rape, even in instances of pedophilic rape, right? Because guess what? A life is still a life. That's still a fucking murder. That's still a murder. You're still killing a child. Now, of course, in many Republican states, all of a sudden, they created carve-outs. So maybe, so I guess it's not always murder. How did that happen? Why is it not murder if life begins at conception, when the sperm fertilizes the egg? If the sperm fertilizes the egg and that equals life, as is the operational logic for many of these weird Christians, okay? Then all of a sudden, why are you building carve-outs for rape and incest? Because if you were logical, if you did truly believe it, you would have no carve-outs, because a life is a life, no matter what. But it seems like they're retriangulating their messaging because they recognize how bad it looks. Okay? They see how bad it looks. They know how bad it is. Lindsey Graham is trying to defend this position, but Trump is the correct person in this situation. Trump is actually reading the room and recognizing that, like, we need a new way to signal to the crowds that we are not going to be as restrictive. You guys are fucking this up. The states' rights only rationale today runs contrary to the American consensus that would limit late-term abortions and will age about as well as the Dred Scott decision. The science is clear. A child at 15 weeks is well developed and capable of feeling pain. I will continue to advocate that there should be a national minimum standard limiting abortion at 15 weeks because the child is capable of feeling pain, with exceptions of rape, incest, life, or the mother. See? I didn't even fucking read down to this point, but here, there you go. He's still inconsistent. He's still inconsistent. Okay? I'm going to quote tweet this. If life begins at conception and abortion is murder, why are people like Lindsey, some murders are okay? It's because they don't actually believe it. They just want to limit medical Of course, he thinks some murders are okay. School shootings specifically? No, dude. No, that's not it. Of course, some murders are okay. Just look at just look at their record on the death penalty. No, but there is no. This is an innocent life, though. Okay, that's different. It's because they don't actually believe it. They just want to limit medical decisions women can make, and they full-blown ban doesn't have enough support. All right, that's it. You can see them try to hit the specific it can feel pain aspect, even if it's bullshit. They lost the religious philosophical debate against abortion and are trying to appeal on the facts and logic now. No, they knew that they had lost the religious aspect. That's why Ben Shapiro, a religious person, even though obviously Judaism allows abortion, encourages abortion, right? Ben Shapiro, being a Christian lapdog, was advocating for abortion not on religious grounds, even though he is a very religious conservative. He was always advocating for abortion from a logical ground, right? Because they realized that that actually tests much better, that actually focus groups much better with a broader audience than just being like, life begins at conception. I'm a religious nutter, and I want to enforce rules upon you at the federal level, at the state level. I want the state to enforce my standards of existing upon you. I think it goes beyond limiting women. I really think it goes to the conservative ideology about who's allowed to have sex and why. Sex is only for procreation and that's it. Yes, it is that. And a lot of these people don't actually care about abortion rights. Either way, they can afford to pay their way out of the bind. Yes. Okay. Anyway. However, until we achieve this goal, the least we can do is provide anesthesia to an unborn child facing abortion at 15 weeks because they can feel pain. Therefore, I will be introducing new legislation requiring abortion providers to administer anesthesia to an unborn child at 15 weeks because they're capable. Bro, he's trying to murder the people that are getting abortions, okay? He's like, if a mother wants to get an abortion, we will murder you by pumping you full of anesthesia, even if you don't need it. Okay? I care more about the life of the hypothetical child that might be born. It's a 50-50 chance anyway, than the life of the carrier. It is common medical practice to administer anesthesia to operate on an unborn child at 15 weeks to save their life. This is further red tape. This is like a trap law, okay? Trying to pass legislation that will register anesthesia at every fucking abortion is just another way to try and further restrict abortion, okay? That's it. Now you need an anesthesiologist at the abortion clinic. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous bill. 47 or 50 European nations have national limits on abortion between 12 and 15 weeks. This is the civilized world's position. That's funny. What else do they got in 47 of the 50 European nations? They got a lot more. I like that he's recognizing that that's the civilized world. The only time he's ever bringing up Europe. In every single one of those European countries, they also have socialized medicine. They are civilized in that front. In every single one of those European countries, if you were to get an abortion beyond those limits, beyond the 12 to 15 weeks limits, okay, you can still get it when it's a medical necessity, which is the only way that you can get an abortion after the first trimester in America anyway. There are no third trimester abortions that are recreational, okay? That's not a real thing. It's just a made-up fantasy by Republicans. And as I repeat, oftentimes, the unfortunate reality is that a big chunk of American political commentary revolves around something that a guy just made up. And now we have to deal with it. Sorry, I made up this thing that is not a real problem. I've decided that it is a real problem, and it's really scary because it scares me, this thing that I made up in my mind. And now you have to act like it's actually happening, and now you have to address the fear that I have. That's it. It's so many things, so many issues that drive political discourse in this country are just issues that a guy made up. Okay? Immigrants are fucking doing mass rapes is not a real thing. There is no empirical evidence for this. The only empirical evidence actually suggests that immigrants, undocumented migrants, are responsible for less crime per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens. But a guy made that up, and it feels like it could be real to a lot of people. So now we have to legislate against that fear. What the fuck? Abortion is no different. Okay? Holy moly. Let's hear what Sky News has to say.
Under my leadership, the Republican Party will always support the creation of strong, thriving, and healthy American families. We want to make it easier for...
A few states technically do allow abortion up until birth. New Jersey and Michigan are two of them. There is no state in the continental United States of America where you can get a no-holds-barred abortion up to the third trimester. You are wrong. In those states, you still need a medical reason for it. Okay? You are wrong. I already factored this in when I said you cannot get an abortion in the third trimester in any state without a medical reason. It is a medical reason that you need to be able to get it. Okay? When you say technically allowed, you are describing what is normal. Okay? When people say legal at any stage, okay, elective abortion in the United States, that does not mention the medical necessity. Okay? That's it. There is no state in the United States of America where you can literally just fucking go, hey man, I kind of want to aborabo. Seems pretty pog. I love getting abortions. It feels good as fuck. It feels good as fuck for my ovaries to get a fucking third trimester aborabo. Okay? There is not a human being on the planet that is like, yeah, I loved carrying this fetus to full-blown viability, and now I am getting a fucking funsies abortion. That's why Republicans have to either make it up or find like an extreme edge case. People do not understand how difficult it is to be pregnant. People do not understand that. Many men definitely do not understand the complications that come along with being pregnant. Not just being pregnant, but also not like when I talk about complications in this regard, I'm not just talking about like, oh, it feels bad because like I'm gaining weight or my belly grew and I don't like that. I'm talking like it can be a life or death situation. Unfortunately, for the United States of America, especially where our healthcare is absolutely dog shit across the board, specifically when it comes to maternal mortality, mortality during pregnancy, pregnancies can be a life or death situation. Like we're still fucking living in ancient Rome or something. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's awesome. It's great. How many women did you endanger yet? What do you mean endanger? What the fuck are you saying? You are being transphobic? What? Oh, stop, please. Wrong. Trans men do as what? Stop. Stop. I know you're memeing, but like people do take this shit. The people do legitimately believe this, okay? Yeah. Here's the other part. Only 2 to 3% of all U.S. abortions happen after the second trimester, and typically those are really fucking sad situations where the parents have to make an impossible call. I saw that shit firsthand when I shadowed an antepartum unit for pregnancy with complications, and every time a termination call had to be made in the third trimester, it was heartbreaking and traumatizing. Exactly. By the third trimester, you've like bought a crib. Okay? You've bought clothes for the baby. You're excited to have the baby. You've like picked out a name. You know the gender of the child. You know what I mean? You're excited at the prospect of having a child. It's a really decision made infinitely worse by the fact that you can't even do this medical procedure now. It's insane. My trans friend got an abortion. Wait, what? You are being transphobic? I'm not. Trans men get abortion. My trans friend got an abortion. Dude, I'm sorry. Oh my God, am I effing again? What the fuck? I hope I get fucking raptured during this process, okay? My stream got effed during this process, and it's objectively a good thing because I'm going to lose my mind. Guys, gals, MBs, shut the fuck up, okay? Jesus Christ. If you think it's transphobic of me not to consistently fucking factor in the very, like the 8 cases historically of trans men getting abortions, okay? Because in order for a trans man to be able to be pregnant, not saying that they can't, okay? But in order for a trans man to be pregnant, they have to stop taking HRT, okay? So shut the fuck up. It is such a phenomenally unique set of circumstances that like constantly being like, no, you have to talk about this. You have to talk about this. And not the fucking tens of millions of people that we're talking about right now, but the one person, the one guy that gets a fucking Rolling Stones article written about him. You're out of your fucking mind. Okay? Shut up. Jesus Christ. Yes, I'm fucking transphobic, I guess, if that's what makes me transphobic. Fuck. It's insane, brother. Or sister. This is a boomer take, babe. No, it's not. It is not a boomer take. God damn. Some of you need to fucking just get out of your fucking Discord servers. Holy shit. It's like, no, you have to have this conversation centering it around me and my own personal situation here. Like, just shut up. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. You're just too fucking permanently online to think that this is like prescient. It is a complete derailment. You will win 0 people with this take. You are not advocating for it. Trans, cis, doesn't fucking matter. You are not advocating for trans rights when you hyper focus on trans men getting abortions, okay? I'm sorry. You're not. You are not advocating for trans rights when you fucking spear dick that narrative into this conversation. Shut your fucking ass up, okay? Jesus Christ, it's so fucking niche, dude. Calm down. No, you just want to be fucking heard. You want to be like me. You're not. What do you think? Is this a really big issue? Is this a genuinely massive issue in the trans community? Are trans men constantly getting pregnant and getting abortions? Is that what's going on? And they're like, we have to be incorporated into the fucking abortion rights conversation. Because I've never met a trans man that's been like, no, listen, like, this is a massive problem, actually. We have to fucking talk about this. You are wrong. I don't think you are transphobic, but pre-HRT trans men get abortions. Wait, what? Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm gonna die. Oh. It's not niche. Just admit that was a transphobic take. If that's a transphobic take, I'm transphobic. Okay? I'm transphobic. It is niche. You're fucking delusional for thinking it's not niche. The problem is, given the numbers, okay, given the numbers, because there aren't that many trans people, a lot of trans issues are niche to begin with. But there are issues that directly pertain to trans people that are written specifically to exclude trans people from living in society, okay? Being like, no, you have to talk about like pre-HRT trans men or pre-HRT or just like trans men that do take HRT or whatever the fuck. And like how important this is to the fucking abortion conversation is delusional. Okay? Jesus Christ. Shut the fuck up. I will argue this take. Yes, you fucking dumbass. I can't go to the OBGYN. I have to go to the women's health clinic. I desperately want to have a kid, but I'm scared of how the medical system treats me already. Wait, what? Oh my God. I think a lot of people genuinely think that when I'm talking about issues, I'm talking to them and them only. Okay? They think that like I'm speaking only to their fucking needs and only to their desires and not the massive amount of people that are not only never thinking about trans people, trans men, trans women, whatever, but like specifically also when they do think about trans people, they have really bad thoughts, okay? You have to remove yourself from this fucking conversation. You are talking to a trans man. I don't care. I know. God damn it, just take the L. Oh my God. I hate how fucking hyper online this argument is. There is a reason why. Oh my God. I'm going to die. I'm done. We're not getting stun locked here. Okay, take a day off. Fucking take a deep breath. Come back when your fucking brain is like, holy fuck. Just take the L. When I win the debate with the streamer as a trans man, I will be able to, I will advance trans rights in the most pro-trans community online. We're one of the largest pro-trans communities online. This is how we fucking fix it. Okay. You already accounted for this in your take originally because it says most men don't understand, meaning there's already a carve out for trans men / uterus havers in this convo. Exactly. Nobody is saying that trans men can't get fucking pregnant, okay? I literally understand that. I have explained it before. But it is a very niche part of this discussion. Okay? I hate this. I have also been incredibly consistent on this issue. Okay? I've been incredibly fucking consistent on this issue. Like when Anna Kasparian brings this point up and like loses her mind about like birthing persons or whatever the fuck discourse, I say it's a simple distraction from the broader anti-trans legislation that's being passed. This is not a real issue at all. This is not a fucking serious, it is not a serious part of the conversation. It might be serious to you, okay? But like advocacy for not restricting abortion access to anyone that needs it is going to already fix your problem to a certain degree. Okay? Stop being fucking weird. Policing people who have the same beliefs as you over mining phrasing / issues, not including one group in your people and language at one time is so ridiculous. I know. It's really fucking annoying. And especially when you're a 42-month subscriber, it's like additionally fucking annoying because you're missing the forest for the trees. It is inherently a reactionary way to approach the subject matter. It's coming from a place of entitlement. What the fuck is this? Hello? Hold on one second. Ay. Let's continue.
Mothers and families have babies, not harder. That includes supporting the availability of fertility treatments like IVF in every state in America. Like the overwhelming majority of Americans, including the vast majority of Republicans, conservatives, Christians, and pro-life Americans, I strongly support the availability of IVF for couples who are trying to have a precious baby. What could be more beautiful or better than that? Today, I'm pleased that the Alabama legislature has acted very quickly. They're beautiful babies, and that's what we are. IVF is an important part of that, and our great Republican...
What the fuck is going on today, man? What is happening today? What is happening? So fucking annoying. Especially at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break.
The Republican Party will always be with you in your quest for the ultimate joy in life. Many people have asked me what my position is on abortion and abortion rights, especially since I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted and, in fact, demanded be ended. Roe v. Wade. They wanted it ended. It must be remembered that the Democrats are the radical ones on this position because they support abortion up to and even beyond the 9th month. The concept of having an abortion in the later months and even execution after birth, and that's exactly what it is. The baby is born, the baby is executed after birth, is unacceptable, and almost everyone agrees with that. My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state. Many states will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart or, in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important to vote. At the end of the day, it's all about will of the people. That's where we are right now, and that's what we want, the will of the people. I want to thank the 6 justices, Chief Justice John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and Neil Gorsuch, incredible people, for having the courage to allow this long-term, hard-fought battle to finally end. This 50-year battle over Roe v. Wade took it out of the federal hands and brought it into the hearts, minds, and vote of the people in each state. It was really something. Now it's up to the states to do the right thing. Like Ronald Reagan, I am strongly in favor of exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. You must follow your heart on this issue, but remember, you must also win elections to restore our culture and, in fact, to save our country, which is currently, and very sadly, a nation.
He does sound like he's AI. Am I wrong? He is definitely on Ozempic.
In decline. Our nation needs help. It needs unity. It needs us all to work closely together. Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, everyone, we have to work together. We have to bring our nation back from the brink, and that's where it is. It's at the brink, and we will. We will do it. I promise you, we will do it. Always go by your heart, but we must win. We have to win. We are a failing nation, but we can be a failing nation no longer. We will make our nation great. We will make our nation greater than ever before. Thank you very much.
This is one of our willow boxes. This is just filled with some of the things that we had started gathering for her while I was pregnant.
Yep.
There's her little baby book. This is the outfit that she was gonna maybe wear home from the hospital. All of these. This is the blanket that she was in. And these are her little footprints.
It's okay.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
President Biden is set to announce a new student debt relief plan that will impact millions of Americans if it goes into effect. Supreme Court struck down a previous plan. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce has the details. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. Well, during a trip to the key battleground state of Wisconsin today, President Biden will unveil his new sweeping student loan plan, which could erase or lower debt for tens of millions of Americans. So here is what we can expect. The plan targets runaway interest, canceling up to $20,000 for the 25 million borrowers who now owe more than they borrow. And those making $120,000 or less a year would be eligible to have all of their interest wiped out. The plan would also eliminate debt for borrowers with at least 20-year-old loans. Now, the rollout of this is set to begin this fall, and the White House says that combined with its previous efforts, this means that more than 30 million Americans could see relief. This is the president's most significant attempt to address this since the Supreme Court struck down his plan last year. But guys, it comes as the president is eager to show voters he can make good on this pledge as we head into the November election.
Hi, everyone. George Stephan.
This is not a bad thing. This is a good thing overall. It's overall a good thing. Okay? It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Dude is taking tax money and giving it straight to loan sharks. I mean, it's not the worst thing. No more interest for 120K less would save me so much money. It is, they're basically looking for any way to fucking salvage the situation. Here's Biden talking about it.
Please have a seat if you have one. Gov, thank you. Thank you for that nice introduction. Thank you, Ashley, for introducing me and sharing your story. I, like an awful lot of people in this audience, was the first in my family to go to college and watch my dad struggle to help me get there and get all the kids there, and it wasn't easy. But, you know, I asked the rhetorical question. How can we be the leading country in the world without the best education system in the world and access to it? You and Sam are from rural Wisconsin, first in your families to go to college. Life partners, business partners, hardworking, paying off your loans, only to see your dreams being crushed by student debt. But now, thanks to what we're doing, that student debt is no longer holding you back. With this new freedom, you started your own business. It helps women and minority-owned businesses right here in Wisconsin. That's what this is all about. I think we all in this room share one goal: give everybody a fair shot, just a shot. Freedom to chase their dreams. You know, you've got some of the great leaders in Wisconsin here as well, and I mean that sincerely. I think Tony knows this. Your governor, I think he's one of the best governors in the United States. And not just that, you really are, Tony. And what progress we've made, and we made a lot, is no small part because of Tony. And the bad news for Tony is we become friends. And Mark, thank you, Representative. Thanks for the passport to get into the district. I appreciate it. You're doing a hell of a job. And Madison, Mayor, thank you. Where is she? There you go. Stand up. I get instructions from my wife, who's a school teacher. She said, make sure you say hello to the mayor. I really like being with her. Thank you, Mayor, for taking care of her. And the state and local tribal leaders here today, thanks for making it available. Where are you? There you go. Stand up, Chief. Thank you. And by the way, it's Indian Nations. And while she couldn't be here, I'm always grateful for one of the best state senators, Tammy Baldwin. She really is. She's a great partner in education, infrastructure, Buy America, and so much more. She's done so much. And when Kamala and I ran this lead county, we made a commitment to fix our broken student loan system. Because while college degree still is a ticket to the middle class, that ticket's becoming much too expensive, much too expensive. In fact, things are a lot different from when college tuition was more affordable and borrowing for college was repaying those loans was more reasonable. Today, too many Americans, especially young people, are saddled with unsustainable debts in exchange for a college degree. The ability for working and middle-class folks to repay their student loans has become so burdensome but a lot can't repay it for even decades after being in school. And I mean that sincerely. Many of you know that sitting in front of me. Even when they have worked hard and pay their student loans, their debt increases, not diminishes. Too many people feel the strain and stress, wondering if they're can get married, have their first child, start a family, because even if they get by, they still have this crushing debt. That's not it's not just a drag on them, it's a drag on our local economies. It's a drag on, no, it really is. It's a drag on the economies. When you can't afford to buy a home, start that small business, chase that career that you've been dreaming about for a long time. That's why early in my term I announced a major plan to provide more than 40 million working and middle-class Americans student debt relief. Tens of millions. Tens of millions of people's debt was literally about to get canceled. But then some of my Republican friends and elected officials and special interests sued us, and the Supreme Court blocked us. But that didn't stop us. No, I mean it sincerely. We continue to find alternatives paths to reduce student debt payments that are not challengeable. And altogether, my administration has taken the most significant action to provide student debt relief ever in the history of this country. We started by fixing 2 existing programs to get more people student debt relief than that they were entitled to. First, we fixed what was called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which was designed to make sure those in public service, school teachers, police officers, firefighters, social workers, faith leaders, public servants, you get the student loan forgiven in 10 years if they've made their payments for those first 10 years. And after 10 years in public service, they would have their loan forgiven. When I took office, 7,000 public service had their debts forgiven. The program wasn't working very well. So I called in the Department of Education and other departments and we got to fix this and fix it now. Thanks to our reforms, nearly 900,000 have had their debts forgiven, including 16,400 right here in Wisconsin. Right here in Wisconsin. Second, we turned what's called an income-driven repayment program, which I've renamed the SAVE program, the most affordable repayment plan ever. Before I took office, student borrowers had to pay 10% of their discretionary income on a monthly basis for what they borrowed, 10% discretionary income. That's income after you pay necessities like housing and food. A lot of people didn't have the means to pay 10%. So I was able to, in my authority, have the department cut that to 5% for undergraduate loans. Now that means no one with undergraduate loans, whether a community college or four-year college, have to pay more than 5% of their discretionary income to repay those loans starting in July this year. And for millions of borrowers who make less than $32,000 a year now after they're out, their monthly student payments will be dropped to 0 as long as they're that. Really. And already, close to 8 million Americans have enrolled in the SAVE plan, including 135,000 here in Wisconsin. Because of our reforms, 25,000 people a month nationwide have been receiving letters from me about their debt they had for 4 years, for all those years, is finally going to be forgiven. But I'm not stopping here. Today, I'm proud to announce 5 major actions to continue to relieve student debt from more than 30 million Americans since I started my administration. First, my administration will propose a new rule to cancel up to $20,000 in runaway interest for any borrower that owes more now than when they started paying the loan. It's a big difference. And for low and middle class families enrolled in my SAVE program, we'll cancel all of your interest, Second, we plan to cancel student debt for borrowers who still owe student loans even though they started repaying them more than 2 decades ago. Folks, third, we plan to cancel debt for about 2 million borrowers who would be eligible for debt forgiveness through the SAVE program, public service loan forgiveness, or other debt canceling programs, but are not enrolled in these programs. Some of you are only finding out after the fact, as you're a teacher, a firefighter, a cop, that you qualify, but you just didn't know about it before. And now but you're eligible no matter how long you've been out of the program. Fourth, we plan to cancel debt for borrowers who the Department of Education determines were cheated by universities that left students on unaffordable loans and delivered little in benefits to students. And you know one of those colleges was closed. I won't mention it. And finally, the Department of Education will propose a new rule to cancel student debt for Americans facing financial hardships, from child care to health care, to prevent them from paying back their loans. And over the coming months, the Department of Education will propose and then implement these plans. And starting this fall, we plan to deliver up to $20,000 in interest relief to over 20 million borrowers and full forgiveness for millions more. I can tell by the looks on some of your faces, this relief is not news to you all, because this relief can be life-changing, just as you heard from Ashley. Folks, I will never stop to deliver student debt relief on hardworking Americans, and it's only in the interest of America that we do it. And again, it's for the good of our economy that's growing stronger and stronger, and it is. By freeing millions of Americans from this crushing debt of student debt, it means they can finally get on with their lives instead of their lives being put on hold. That's why every American makes.
As someone who works in federal politics, I find it a bummer that it's a fall rollout that begins in election time. Still great news, though, but friends are frustrated waiting. I fuck with DA marijuana registration by Kamala for election strategy, though. I'm fine with politicians doing shit specifically for elections as long as they're doing shit. It is frustrating to have it be so obviously political, but that's politics in general. It's just like, it's not the best possible outcome, but it's still good. This is complete horseshit. Don't be duped again. I think given the circumstances or the setbacks, if we are to look at it from the institutional hurdles oftentimes created specifically so that people can go, oh, fuck, we can't do anything. This is still a step in the right direction. It's just that it's still far from what was originally promised. I think the best possible outcome would have been to say fuck you to the Supreme Court and to say that he has full power over the Department of Education. Of course, only Republicans get to do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Or stack the court, destroy the sacred institution as it existed. The SAVE program has been incredible for me because I get denied for disability, but I can't work. But now I don't gain any interest and my monthly payments is zero, so I don't have to worry about my student debt. Hopefully I'll be able to find a job I can do soon. This is exactly how the old heads felt when Obamacare passed. Yeah, I mean, this is the best you're going to get with the Democratic Party. Let's be real.
Making a student loan payment should go to studentaid.gov. Studentaid.gov to learn more about these plans and see if any of them fit for you. Look, that's not all. People say to me, it's great you're helping people into college. How about all those hardworking people who grew up and had no opportunity to go to college? I get it. That's the neighborhood I come from.
What has been promised? What was promised is student loan debt relief across the board. Now, Biden has done some piecemeal student loan debt relief here and there throughout the entire 4 years of the administration. But what was promised was obviously just yeeting most of the student loan debts. So during an appearance in Wisconsin, President Biden said 10 million borrowers could see debt relief of at least $5,000, and the plan could help rally support among young voters, is what the New York Times byline is. on this. Obviously, it's still too little. It's definitely too late. I don't know how else to describe it, but the point is, or the plan would potentially reduce the amount that 25 million borrowers still owe on their undergraduate and graduate loans. It would wipe away the entire amount for more than 4 million Americans. Although altogether, the White House official said 10 million borrowers could see debt relief for $5,000 or more. This is a way to, I guess, sidestep the Supreme Court somehow. He announced it here in front of you guys in Madison, Wisconsin. The reason for why he did that, of course, is because it is a college town, and it also is a very important swing state that he is desperately trying to hold on to in spite of the ongoing genocide that has made it more difficult for him to hold on to. This article from the Forbes will explain to you what he had originally promised. This is, of course, from October 7, 2020. Biden, I will eliminate your student debt. Reaffirming his commitment to broad student loan forgiveness at a town hall in Miami on Tuesday, Biden, in a response to a question from a young person concerned about student loan debt and lack of economic opportunity, responded with, you get all these degrees and you get all this debt and you get in a position where you can't get a job because no one is hiring or they're hiring at very low wages. I'm going to eliminate your student debt if you come from a family making less than $125,000 and went to a public university. Biden also said, I'm going to make sure everyone gets $10,000 knocked off of their student debt in response to economic hardships caused by the pandemic. Biden further proposed giving young people a $15,000 credit towards a down payment on their first home. This is how people accumulate wealth, he said. This is how people get started. We have to recognize you and advance you. You are the future. I am not the type of person who will ever criticize trying to buy votes. I think it's a very cynical attitude that goes against the very nature of representative democracy. The entire purpose of the democratic process is to buy votes. Oftentimes, the only votes that our legislators are looking to buy is the votes, or rather the outsized political power, social capital that you gain from corporations and the wealthy. Okay? Rich people do not even ask to have their votes be bought. They demand it. They demand it through legislation. They demand it through lobbying. So when someone is seeking to buy your vote, when you're the average citizen, we have this like weird, we take offense to it almost. I find that to be odd. I don't think we should take offense to it. We should welcome it. Okay? Now, of course, it'd be much nicer if he actually followed through on his promises to buy your vote and did not rely on the unconditional support that he will get from you, because the other side is much worse. This hinges on the Democratic Party's modus operandi. This is how the Democratic Party operates, because they know that the other side is much, much worse. Now, of course, the promise that he had made, this one right here, he failed to achieve. One, because it was a broad promise. It was a big promise. It was one within his legal purview. It was one within his legal rights. He does control the Department of Education. They have abolished student loan debt before. They have put a pause on student loan debt repayments. If you guys recall, many of you have student loans. You probably noticed when your student loans, you did not have to pay them anymore. That was during COVID. Technically, because he has that promise, he could extend it permanently. Technically, he has that power. Okay? Oh my God, here we go. PolitiFact, Biden promise tracker. Where is it? Let's see. Where's the student loan one? Forgive student loan debt from public colleges and universities. In the works. Okay. Anyway, Legal challenges were mounted by Republicans across the country, attorneys generals that are representing the interests of like financial tools, for example, like debt repayment, like loan repayment companies and whatnot, immediately opened up legal challenges to gum up the works as best as possible. It was ridiculous because they just kept suing and suing and suing, even if the companies themselves were not looking to sue. The Attorney General would sue them without the company's prior knowledge. They claimed that this was unlawful, an unlawful use of executive authority to enact a costly transfer of wealth from taxpayers who have not taken out federal student loans to those who have. They also said that this would hurt the bottom line of, debt refinancing institutions, which is true, but fuck them. Okay. Ridiculous. But regardless, if you look at the New York Times article, and I'm looking at it right now, Mr. Biden's announcement was a presidential do-over. The New York Times says in the summer of 2022, he put into motion a plan to wipe out $400 billion in student debt for about 43 million borrowers. That was blocked by the Supreme Court, which said he exceeded his authority. In the months since, Biden has waived small amounts of debt using existing programs. But now he's attempting a larger effort to closer to the scale of his first try. The original plan relied on a law called HEROES Act, which the administration argued allowed the government to waive student debt during a national emergency like the COVID pandemic. The justices disagreed after Republican attorneys general and others challenged the debt waiver plan. The new approach is different. For months, Mr. Biden's education department has been developing regulations using long process authorized by the Higher Education Act. Instead of an across-the-board waiver of debt, the new approach targets 5 groups of borrowers: those whose loans have ballooned because of interest, borrowers who have been paying for decades, those who have economic hardship, and those who qualify for existing debt relief programs but have not applied, and people whose loans come from schools that have since been denied certification or have lost eligibility for federal student aid programs, which is ridiculous. They shouldn't have to pay anyway. That's like, that last part is fucking crazy. Administration officials said because the new approach is based on a different law, it is more likely to survive the expected challenges. They said lawyers for the White House and the Education Department have studied the Supreme Court ruling and have designed new programs to make sure it does not violate the principles laid out by the justices. What? I did cover the local elections in Turkey, chatter. Please cover some global issues at least sometimes. A small 5 to 10% wouldn't hurt anybody, and you can go back to your American obsession. Oh, I'm an American political commentator covering American politics. I did talk about the local elections in Turkey, and I cover global politics almost every single fucking day. I talk about Israel, Palestine every single day for the past fucking 6 months. What the fuck are you talking about? It is not an obsession. It is my job. And not only that, but I also did cover the local elections in Turkey. There are entire days where I only cover foreign politics and not even any domestic issues. Calm down. Okay. Anyway. Also, American politics obviously impacts your life in ways that you recognize or don't recognize, regardless of your recognition. But lawyers for those who oppose the approach are likely to argue that waiving the debt is unfair to those who already paid back their loans or never took out college loans in the first place. That argument helps sway the justices in the last case. It's a bullshit fucking argument. And the justices are not looking to be swayed, even though they have an honest opinion on this, an honest approach on this. The justices are operating on the boundaries of political, on their political interest. They are there to operate as a vestige of the Republican Party. That is what the reactionary justices are there to do. This argument is an idiotic argument on its face regardless. The notion that, oh, well, what about the people that paid for it? It's unfair to them is fucking insane. Okay? That is insane. That is not the American way, or it should not be the theoretical American way. The notion that, like, if there was, for example, a cure for cancer, that, like, former cancer patients or the friends and family members of, like, those who have fallen to cancer would not advocate against that cancer treatment being opened up to every single person. It's so dumb. I had cancer. I fixed it the right way. You can't get this cure. I suffered this injustice, so others must suffer as well, is idiotic. Also, the notion that Americans ever have cared, or the Supreme Court has ever cared about fairness, is really silly. They do not care. Capitalism is an inherently unfair system. Ridiculous. Fairness only is used, or rather weaponized, as a counter argument when you are helping a broad swath of the society that is normally not helped. Neil McCluskey, the director of the Center for Educational Freedom at Cato Institute, called the new plan dangerous policy that is unfair to taxpayers and would cause colleges and universities to raise their prices. The Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the authority. Like, see, this is how you know they're throwing shit at a wall, because they're trying to cover from every angle. They're like, oh, well, colleges are really expensive, and they'll get even more expensive because they'll get comfortable. It's a dangerous policy. Oh, it's unfair. It's unfair to those who paid. Well, as someone who has not only been fortunate enough to achieve financial security that I can pay my own student loans, my parents' student loans, my brother's student loans, I say no one else should have to suffer. This is ridiculous. What a bullshit fucking argument. But even silly bullshit fucking arguments can be utilized by the United States Supreme Court of Justice. Like, for example, when Antonin Scalia very famously advocated for the use of torture, nay, enhanced interrogation, by bringing up the fictional television series with Kiefer Sutherland starring called 24, where he brought up a hypothetical where Jack Bauer had to torture a terrorist to figure out plans and thwart a possible nuclear attack on Washington, D.C. or New York or one of the fucking major cities. I don't remember which one. That is not an argument that withstands the test of time or just, I don't know, pure reasoning by anyone. It was Los Angeles. Never mind. Sorry. The one fucking city that I did not bring up. That is a ridiculous argument. And yet it was valid for the Supreme Court. The Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the authority to enact law, and the Supreme Court has already struck down a unilateral mass student debt cancellation scheme by Biden administration. It will stick taxpayers with bills for debts other people chose for their own financial advancement. We never have this kind of smoke for any kind of executive action in any other direction. This is within the legal purview of the executive authority, the executive office. The Department of Education is controlled by the White House. We have already exercised this control. Where'd you go to school? Do you have any debt? I did. I used to have debt. Yes. Dude, it is impossible to go to American college and not have debt. Okay. It's virtually impossible. You have to be really, really, and I mean really fucking rich. You have to be, you know, what my haters imagine my lifestyle is like. A son of a multi-billionaire Turkish oligarch with a major fucking trust fund to be able to go to American college without any loans whatsoever. And I say this as someone who got a shit ton of scholarships as well. There was still a lot of shit to pay for. It is also one of the major principles behind throwing endless bodies at the American military machine. College is the only viable solution for upward social mobility. It's not even that viable as it once was. It is now a requirement. And because of how costly college is, the Department of Defense uses that as an opportunity to engage in a poverty draft. The legal challenges will take months to resolve, and that could leave the debt relief plan in limbo as voters go to the polls in November to choose between Mr. Biden and former President Donald Trump. Members of Mr. Biden's administration fanned out across the country on Monday to talk about the new plan, betting that it will rally support among voters who were disappointed that the court blocked the first one, which would have eliminated up to $20,000 in debts for tens of millions of borrowers. An objectively good thing, if you recall, which I was very much on board with, which I fucking rode for Biden on. There have been a couple moments of clarity and a couple really awesome moments in the Brandon administration. Full fully facilitating the withdrawal from Afghanistan was one of those moments which everybody yelled at him over. This was another one which everybody also yelled at him over, because it does seem like the entirety of American mainstream media, all of our corporations, all of our wealthy, are just undesirable, incredibly reactionary monsters when it comes to doing good things and doing right by those who have been fucked over by the systems. There's never a moment where we can, God forbid, help those who need it. There was never this level of discourse over PPP loan relief. Never. It was a given. Those loans had conditions. None of those conditions are met. None of those conditions were met. Those loans were given for a purpose. The purpose was to continue paying workers that weren't going into work to help facilitate that payment, because we did not have like a unilateral, federally controlled labor structure where every single person, or some kind of federal banking structure. So we had to do it in the most American way possible, with cash infusions to corporations. Those corporations, small businesses, large businesses alike, never took those PPP loans and then met the conditions, such as paying their fucking workforce, but it did not matter. That was a tremendous amount of loans, tremendous, massive number. I don't recall the exact size of the PPP loans in general. But notice how nobody fucking made a big stink about it. Why? Because that was a cash transfer to corporations. Does that not strike you as odd? That when corporations get a cash transfer from the federal government with conditions and nobody meets those fucking conditions at all? Yeah. Here's the PPP loans that cost nearly double what Biden's student debt forgiveness would have. Here's how the programs compare. Almost every single person that is a small business owner, big business owner that took a PPP loan, which includes members of Congress, mind you, had no issues with the $785 billion that was forgiven. $790 billion in PPP loans. Out of the $790 billion, $757 billion was forgiven. Wow. Nobody chirped about that shit, though. God forbid. God forbid you bring that shit up, and it wasn't even utilized appropriately. I don't want to hear about the fact that the PPP loan relief came from congressional authorization, whereas student loan debt restructuring or student loan debt relief actually comes from the executive office. I don't give a shit, okay? I care about the impact of the legislation. I care about the impact of the actions. I don't give a shit about how the sausage was made in this regard. This kind of structural hurdle is only talked about when it's actually simply a conversation about helping the poor. Okay? That's it. Structural hurdles are only a problem when you want to pass legislation through budget reconciliation, for example, and the Senate parliamentarian decides that a $15 minimum wage does not impact the budget, does not impact the deficit, and therefore it cannot be a part of the budget reconciliation conversation. And then the Democrats go, "Oh, what can we do?" It's bullshit. They do this every fucking time. These conversations are incredibly silly. And even on the institutional hurdles conversation, there are ways out of it, and yet people choose not to take them. Okay? How are they able to forgive PPP loans easily? Brother, what do you mean? Welcome to the United States of America. A corporation, no matter what size, has more rights than the average citizen here. This is a country designed to churn out outcomes such as this one. Okay? That's it. And that's why increasing taxes is almost a political impossibility, whereas decreasing taxes is a given, is expected, is promoted, is celebrated by both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party alike in many instances. They're both unnecessary bailouts. Don't put one against the other. Go work for a nonprofit for 10 years and have your unsub federal loans forgiven. That's what I did. Yeah, you're a fucking idiot, dude. I'm sorry to say this, okay? But you're a fucking dumbass. What do you mean? Everybody needs to go work for a fucking nonprofit for 10 years? This is not only the dumbest fucking argument you could make, but it's also one that just completely is oblivious to the reality elsewhere. The reason why you go and get a college education is not because, oh, it's so much fun. I mean, you can surely have fun there as well. But the reason why this is reactionary peasant mindset, okay, is cucked, is because it fails to capture broader thinking. You are not looking at other countries and trying to understand why other countries have college for free. College education is good for making a more productive labor force. In an increasingly global planet, we need to have competitive labor. This is why other countries actually make it so that it is not only free to go to college, but in some nations they will pay you, especially if you are taking on a specific role that the government has decided we need more of. That's the normal way to do it. That's the good way to do it. Okay? That's the smart way to do it. Why do they do it? Is it because they're stupid? Is it because countries like Germany are fucking dumb? They just don't understand it? Is it because they're communist? They're not. This is positive overall, even for capitalism. Having a more educated workforce is a good thing. Objectively so. Paywalling education, higher education, is stupid. I don't understand how someone can look to this and go, I suffered. I worked for a nonprofit for 10 years. And that's the only way that through indentured servitude, I was able to, destroy my student loans that shouldn't even exist to begin with. Free college, but country in debt. Brother, free college, but country in unpayable debt. We are the United States of America. That is idiotic. If countries that do not have their own currency can engage in programs such as this one, then the United States of America certainly can. Debt to who is the question you must ask. Yeah, also, you are correct on this. Nodder smoke time. The executive authority for student loan forgiveness was specifically granted by Congress in the Higher Ed and Heroes Act. So the president having executive authority over student loan debt relief was already given to the executive by Congress. But of course, as is the case of Roe v. Wade, we know now, I think, or many Americans know the reality that I've been chirping about for many, many years, which is that the Supreme Court of the United States does not operate with real legal considerations. Okay? Constitutional law is not what is at play here. It's more so just whatever suits the needs and interests of capital owners. The court interpretation is bullshit. That's my point. The court interprets things in a way that suits their needs, in a way that suits the needs of their corporate benefactors. America doesn't do regular capitalism that other European social democracies engage in. America does extra capitalism. Okay? Extra capitalism. It is hyper exploitative because in the short term, it offers great benefits to a select few. It is our greed that will lead to our demise. It is operating in the way that capitalism is supposed to operate, by, mind you, without any kind of fucking state restrictions or state regulation on it. No checks, no balances whatsoever. The only time the state interferes in capitalism is, once again, to suit the needs of corporations. This is neoliberalism. Not a true free market, mind you. Okay? But a market where the government only steps in to favor corporations over the interests of the workers, to favor capital owners in the interests of the workers. Obamacare is a great example of this, and even that was fought against. Obamacare is a right-wing policy. It was designed by the Heritage Foundation in 1992 as a way to counter true socialized medicine, true public health care. It was implemented first by a Republican by the name of Mitt Romney when he was the governor of the state of Massachusetts. It is yet again a cash transfer to private healthcare providers. That's what Obamacare does. Now, were there good provisions in Obamacare? Absolutely. Like the abolition of refusing to offer health care by healthcare providers to those with pre-existing conditions. That was a good thing. That is what they wanted to destroy, the capital owners. The real question is, does Hassan care? The only good thing in Germany is free education and healthcare across Europe, I guess. The real question is, does Hassan care? I do care, very much so.
It's a painful, solemn homecoming.
Let's get to the other story here. Israel-Palestine. One area where Biden has, of course, demonstrated competency in the most incompetent way possible. Competency if you believe that his goal overall is to wipe out Gaza, which I do believe that's his overarching goal. Whatever fucking Israel says goes. Okay? Gazans are returning to the devastation in Khan Yunis as Israeli forces are withdrawing. Now, you might think, wow, that's good. That's progress, right? Well, the suspicion is that the Israeli forces are only withdrawing from Khan Yunis so they can turn around and mount a siege on Rafah for a potential invasion of Rafah. However, yesterday was the lowest death toll, as far as I understand, in Gaza since October 7. Only 32 Palestinians were ruthlessly and mercilessly slaughtered in Gaza. Only 32. This is progress. That's how bad the situation is, that we say only 32 people were murdered yesterday. Israel is also, even though they had no control over the Gaza Strip, according to many Zionists and many defenders of Israel, although they had no control over Gaza whatsoever, that Gaza was not an open-air prison, Israel somehow has found some control over Gaza, it seems, northern Gaza specifically, where now they are allowing more aid to reach northern Gaza. They're allowing the bakeries to be open in northern Gaza. They're allowing water into northern Gaza. It's very odd that a country that does not have control over this territory that it occupies is able to allow these things to happen in a territory that it doesn't certainly occupy. 400 trucks entered today, record since October 7. Interesting.
Palestinians who fled the city of Khan Yunis returned to its ruins after Israeli forces pull out. Some pick through the debris of their shattered lives, looking for whatever can still be salvaged. Around £15 billion worth of damage has been inflicted to Gaza's infrastructure, according to the World Bank. How to measure the suffering of its inhabitants?
No words can describe my pain. I have no words to express my feelings. Our memories, our dreams, our childhood, and our family are all gone. I couldn't find anything under the rubble.
The conflict is far from over, but 6 months after the war began, following Hamas's October the 7th attacks, Israel has withdrawn the vast bulk of its ground forces in Gaza. Khan Yunis in southern Gaza was the scene of Israel's last major ground offensive. Troop numbers had already been drawn down. Now only one brigade is left, guarding a corridor splitting the territory in two. Though the possibility of an Israeli assault on Rafah, where so many Gazans fled seeking safety, remains a possibility, despite international opposition to it.
Israel will maintain the freedom to act, as it does actually in the West Bank, to act for its own security based on intelligence in raids and short-term raids that do not entail remaining on the ground for long periods of time. Now, there's, of course, the question of Rafah. And in my mind, the question of Rafah has to do more with sealing off the border between the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Desert, so Hamas cannot reinforce itself through there as it did before October 7th, much more than with the remaining 4 battalions of Hamas. Those battalions can be contained, they can be dismantled over time.
Last month, the Israeli army launched a huge raid on the Al-Shifa hospital complex in northern Gaza, despite previously having declared the area free from Hamas. The move was widely criticized abroad, but Israel is holding it up as a model of how it plans to act in the future. Inside Israel, frustration with the government's handling of the war is rising. At a huge rally in Jerusalem last night, in solidarity with the hostages held in Gaza, the relatives of some accused Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of not doing enough. They're placing their hopes on talks around a ceasefire deal in Egypt. But this evening, a Hamas official said the group had rejected the latest proposals put forward. In a video today, Netanyahu claimed securing the hostages' release was the primary objective of the war, and following criticism from right-wing allies, also said a date for an invasion of Rafah has been set in order to, in his words, secure victory over Hamas. Hamas has been severely weakened, but it's already been re-emerging in the north. Israel's reduced much of Gaza to rubble, but has no clear plan on what comes next. For ordinary families back in what's left of their homes in Khan Yunis, who've already lost so much, a bleak future of further violence and instability lies ahead.
Well, I'm joined now by Sam Rhodes, Director of Planning at UNRWA, the UN agency for Palestinians that provides the backbone of humanitarian support in Gaza, and he was in Gaza until 10 days ago. I mean, when you look at a place like Khan Yunis, what can any aid agency do there? I mean, it's rubble.
It's complete rubble, and the Israelis pulled out today after an operation going on for 5 or 6 weeks. We've continued to provide some services in part of Khan Yunis, the parts of Khan Yunis that have been accessible towards the coast, but this idea that life will go back there to normal, that we can operate as normal, is not realistic. But
what do people do when they move into these areas? I mean, do they live in tents, or, I mean, because they can't live...
People, the Israelis pulled out overnight, and some people go back, as we would in these situations, to inspect what's left of your home. So a lot of people, we would expect to see movement from Rafah as people go back to have a look at what's left. But there's very little. If what's left of Khan Yunis is similar to what's left of northern Gaza and Gaza City, there'll be very little for people to go back to for months, if not years.
What is UNRWA doing now? Because, you know, the Israelis have been systematically attacking your organisation, undermining it, saying you're biased. You know, are you functioning as an organisation?
We are functioning as an organisation in many ways, not as we would normally function outside of a war, but we are distributing flour to tens of thousands of people every day. Since October, we've provided flour to 1.8 million people in Gaza, almost 1.9 million people. So we're providing medical consultations to over 20,000 people a day, refugees and non-refugees. In times of conflict, in times of crisis, UNRWA's mandate actually extends beyond serving and assisting Palestine refugees to support the population at large, because we are the entity with the footprint, with the capacity, with the understanding of conditions on the ground.
And what about getting aid around, well, in for...
Not flowers, man. Flour, like for food. Flour. To make bread. Jesus. Chat really needs to fucking clean out their ears, I think. Anyway. Thank you for your coverage of Israel. I live in Israel, and your coverage has been a huge help in seeing through the collective mind fog here. It's fucking nuts here. I feel like I'm losing my mind every day. I live in the settlements. I hate it here. I wish I could move. Weren't your ears clogged as fuck? It was. It was. And I unclogged it. Problem requires solution. Okay? Just like top of the hour ad break requires the solution of subscribing. This video claimed what Netanyahu said was the primary object is returning hostages. It left out that he said the primary objectives are returning the hostages and destroying Hamas. I don't want it to seem like he's making a softening of rhetoric when in reality he's been blocking lots of attempts to compromise in the negotiations under pressure from Ben Gvir and Smotrich. Bezalel Smotrich. Yeah. Sent you a message on Instagram about maybe having a board member of the PCRF on your show. Let me know. That seems good. Will Stansel is still being a spineless little liar about Israel? What? What is this? Once again, Netanyahu follows orders from American presidents. Israel is a subsidiary of the United States. We end this war with a stroke of a pen is the core conspiracy theory driving the left bonkers, since the corollary is Biden must want this all to happen. Now, Will Stansel in and of himself is a fucking weirdo loser who gives a shit what he thinks. But this was the common sentiment from liberals in November, and it still kind of is to this day. The notion that Israel is a separate entity, the notion that Israel can do whatever the fuck it wants, and America can just like simply sit back and not do anything was really stupid back then, and it's really stupid now. Now, of course, did Will Stansel recognize that he was wrong about that take? No, he still says it's still correct. Of course, this would require you to, close your ears and close your eyes and refuse to reckon with the reality that, like, the United States of America does have pressure power, and Biden hasn't been using that pressure power until recently. And even now, the pressure power that Biden is using is still very marginal. Okay? Very, very, very marginal. It's weaponized ignorance. Okay? Here's the other side of this coin. The Biden administration is now effectively preparing to make aid to Israel contingent on ... unspecified changes to Israeli policy, which means that Israel can do little or nothing to appease the White House. Hamas is now in control of the Biden administration. Tel Aviv does what DC wants them to do, or Tel Aviv does what DC allows them to do. It's both what they want them to do, but also what they allow them to do. Okay? Just so you understand. You forgot to run the ads? I thought I did run them. Oh, you're right. I did forget. Thank you, chatter. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. I'm going to tag IDF again. I'm going to say, Bill Vog, thank you for the 5 tier 1 gifted subs, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour, by the way. Once again, it seems like, with this affectation, I'm basing a character off of you for a script. Okay. You're probably banned from visiting Israel now. Oh no, what will I do? Oh man, what will I fucking do now? The Israeli chatters that keep saying come to Israel are going to be so disappointed. Yeah. America says jump. Israel says how high. Okay. This has been proven over and over again. Even if those inside of Israel refuse to reckon with that reality, those in positions of power do reckon with that. Yoav Gallant famously even allowed any aid to go inside, even with restrictions that they obviously very quickly implemented. When asked, why are we allowing any aid into this terror territory, Yoav Gallant said, well, America asked us. What are we supposed to do? Say no? Palestinians are starting to realize that Western leftists see them primarily as expendable shock troops in a war that Western leftists warmonger for, but never actually go fight in. Non-stop sirens going off in Israel. Fuck your ceasefire. Flatten Tel Aviv. What? I'm sorry, but who the fuck are you to say fuck your ceasefire? You're not even a Palestinian. Your life is not at risk. Your family isn't starving. I love the genre of tweets of like, I love the genre of tweets as though like Noah Smith is on the side of Palestinians at all. Like he found one fucking random person with a real aggro perspective. He saw someone else from, I assume, potentially Palestinian descent or Palestinian themselves or living in the West Bank or whatever, saying, understandably, what do you mean fuck your ceasefire? That's a ridiculous fucking position to have, the fuck your ceasefire position, I mean. Okay? And he went, yeah, this is what the leftists believe. They're fucking warmongers. Yes, dude, you're right. The neoliberal that champions U.S. foreign policy unconditionally, including with respect to Israel's offensive genocidal campaign, is not the warmonger. It's that one random fucking overzealous Twitter supporter. Come on, dog. Expendable shock troops in a war that Western leftists warmonger for, but will never actually go fight in. Yeah, my favorite genre of tweet. Arguments with a figment of the tweeter's imagination. Yeah. Strikes me as odd. Have been launched since mid-October. Thinks the broader Western left is against this position. Perhaps does he simply think the Biden admin for continuing? Are you okay? Wait, why? Do I seem not okay? Context here is, though, talks in Cairo just started, and after the withdrawal, there's a lot of posturing from both sides. Netanyahu is posturing about a Rafah invasion as a point of pressure in negotiations, so it doesn't seem like the move is Hamas is getting free shit. Hamas, on the other hand, is posturing that it's not impressed and is taking its time. Internally, both Ben Gvir and sponsors threaten to kill the government if the war ends without a Rafah invasion. It's insane. You seem upset? Yeah, I'm covering a genocide. It's kind of upsetting. Anyway, here's the Rafah invasion plans that Netanyahu claims he has, but the State Department does not know when it will happen or how it will happen.
Prime Minister just said, like in the last hour or so, that a date for the Rafah invasion has been set. Have the Israelis shared that date with the U.S.?
To my knowledge, we have not been briefed on that date.
And given the Prime Minister just said, like in the
first and around.
The issue, the situation of getting aid into Gaza remains incredibly difficult.
Because the Israelis won't let you do it, basically.
The Israelis won't.
By the way, to answer what that chatter was saying, or to, I guess, complement it a little bit with additional information, the demands made by the Palestinian envoys has been pretty clear-cut since the last ceasefire, which is the release of hostages in tiers, and a full-blown permanent ceasefire executed over the course of the upcoming 6 months, which was like a couple months ago, so that date keeps changing. Okay? Netanyahu's government, on the other hand, has said no to those very reasonable demands. The step-by-step plan that Hamas had implemented for a temporary ceasefire that turns into a permanent ceasefire is pretty fucking reasonable. It got very little coverage outside of this channel. It got very little coverage in mainstream media, but that has been their position almost in perpetuity. Netanyahu, on the other hand, does not want to engage in a permanent ceasefire. He wants the hostages back, and he wants to continue pummeling Gaza, which is a wild thing to openly admit you want to do. Like, I feel like even lying about it would be better in this situation, to be like, yeah, we will do a permanent ceasefire, and then not actually do it, which goes back to what the chatter was saying, which is because he has a lot of internal pressure from the Israeli public and also specifically from his war cabinet to make promises that he will not end the war. It also corresponds to his interest of not losing power because he doesn't want the legal scrutiny that will inevitably come, considering that he has been under investigation for quite some time over charges of corruption, and those all of those cases were halted when he got back into power with this incredibly right-wing coalition. So it is just as bad as you think it is. This is one of those very few instances where there is legitimately a open and shut, black and white, good guy, bad guy situation. One party is the good guy here, and one party is the bad guy here, as it usually happens with genocide.
It's not that they won't let us bring aid in, but the process for bringing aid in is convoluted, it's time-consuming, it's extremely difficult to bring aid in through the one crossing point that was designed for goods that is still opening. Once we've got aid into Gaza, there's the issues of distributing it around Gaza Strip. There are issues of availability of trucks, conditions of law and order on the ground, and our inability as UNRWA to distribute food to northern Gaza, which we've been calling for, which the international community has been calling for several months, and all the more so since the reports on famine came out a few weeks ago.
Well, I mean, what's happening with, the crossing's supposed to be open now, isn't it? So why isn't...
Crossings are open. The crossing, Kerem Shalom crossing in southern Gaza is open. It's not open to the extent that is required to get in the 500 trucks a day that aid organizations, including UNRWA, say are required.
But they said Erez was open then, didn't they? So, I mean, is it functioning?
No, Erez is not functioning. We've seen the news plans to reopen Erez. Erez was also a passenger material, so a terminal. So the idea that Erez could substitute for the volumes of aid that needs to get in, and it's not just aid that needs to get in. You can't survive. You can survive, but you can't live and you can't recover on a food parcel that UNRWA provides. We need the commercial crossings to open as well, and the passage of commercial trucks to be allowed back into Gaza at the volume.
I mean, the thing is, Israel wants...
Why do we think Netanyahu genuinely wants the hostages back? No, he doesn't want the hostages back. If you think that Benjamin Netanyahu legitimately, honest to God, wants the hostages back, you might be, and I'm not saying this chatter is, but like, anyone who tries to tell you that Netanyahu legitimately cares about the hostages or the safety and security of Israeli civilians since October 7, okay, is the dumbest goof of all time. Netanyahu does not give a fuck. Bro, Israelis don't think Netanyahu cares about the hostages. Why do you think there have been massive protests in the streets? Like, people who love the pummeling campaign of Gaza, the bombing campaign of Gaza, do not love that their family members are still trapped in Gaza. Even the fucking family members and their friends are criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu's actions. Like, they're like, dude, get the hostages out and then continue the fucking war. What are you doing? Like, people who genuinely do not care about Palestinian lives at all, who openly say, like, Benjamin Netanyahu is the bad, he's not a good person to do this offensive campaign, are angry at him because he's killing too many fucking hostages. As I understand it, what was discussed today was a twofold 6-week ceasefire without follow-up, which I won't go into because Hamas, of course, won't take it. The second was a broader framework for a 3-step path to a permanent ceasefire. The U.S. reportedly taking a more active role, trying to lock in an agreement on civilians return to north with keys for exchange. This is because Israelis are scared they'll lose leverage on exchange if civilians return early. Oh, yeah, law is showing. Likud polls at 19 mandates, law. It's pathetic. Yeah. He is completely cucked. He's cooked. But polls show Israelis prefer the genocide of the hostages? No. You're missing the forest for the trees there. Israelis want the genocide to continue, but there is enough Israelis now that want to free the hostages before the genocide continues. The overwhelming majority of Israelis want it to continue. Okay? That is a given. With no care or consideration for the civilians, that's like 80% plus of Israeli Jews at least, that have been polled that believe that this bombing campaign has to continue. Okay. And you know, the protests right now that you see in Israel are not about the genocide. The protests that you see right now in Israel are about the bombing campaigns that are killing hostages, Israeli hostages.
A future without UNRWA at all? I mean, it says it doesn't trust you. Is that possible?
I think right now, given the gravity, given the complexity, given the scale of the humanitarian situation in Gaza, you can't, this is not an organization that you can turn off. UNRWA is a lifeline to hundreds of thousands of millions of people inside Gaza. You can't replace that with anything else overnight. It's, you starve UNRWA and you do starve Gaza in many ways.
And so what is the immediate need right now?
The immediate need in Gaza is for the bombing to stop, for a ceasefire to hold, for the release, unconditional release of hostages, and for the crossings to open to allow UNRWA and other aid organizations to get aid to the people that need it. We need the crossings to open in a sustained manner. We need to be able to operate in a safe way. The tragic case of the World Central Kitchen workers who were killed last week are yet more aid workers, Palestinian who've been killed since the start of the conflict, almost 200, the vast majority of whom are UNRWA workers, many killed in the line of duty whilst discharging their humanitarian functions.
Sam Rose, thank you very much.
News poll 12, half a year into the war, the state camp is weakening. The Likud and yes, Atid are getting stronger. According to the survey, Gantz's state camp wins 32 mandates and Likud 19. More in the survey, who performs better in a war cabinet and who's primarily responsible for the crisis with the U.S. According to the survey, only 14% are sure that the Israeli government is doing everything to return the kidnapped. Holy shit. They do not, I mean, it's understandable that they don't personally think that Israel's doing everything they can to return the hostages. That makes sense. 14%. Those 14% are like the hogs, by the way, of Israel. Those are the guys who are the bibists. Half a year since the outbreak of the war, in a News 12 survey that we published last night in the main edition suggested the state camp led by Benny Gantz would be the largest party in the Knesset with 32 seats if the elections were held today.
And we turn now to John Kirby. He is the coordinator for strategic communications for the White House National Security Council. Welcome back.
Thanks, Margaret.
So Prime Minister Netanyahu says Israel's one step away from victory, but they still plan to go into Rafah. Has Netanyahu agreed to President Biden's request to make this targeted and not a ground assault?
We have been very clear with the Prime Minister and his team that we don't support a ground operation in Rafah, that there are other ways, other options that they need to look at for how they're going to go after the Hamas threat that still is in Rafah. We had a virtual meeting last week. We expect to have an in-person meeting with Israeli counterparts in the next week or so. We're still narrowing down the schedule, where we hope to be able to present in more detail our thinking, some of our alternatives, the kinds of things that we want them to learn from our own experiences about how to do operations of this regard.
So, as you heard, the IDF says this is an evolution of the war to draw down some of these troops. Exactly what are they preparing for? Is this for another front in this conflict?
Well, I certainly wouldn't speak to IDF operations or their planning one way or another. It's a sovereign military. The indications that we've been getting from them this morning is this is really largely rest and refit for troops that have been on the ground consecutively now for 4 months, and they need a chance to come out. Now, what they'll do with those troops after a rest and refit, I can't speak to. All I can do is say what I said before. We don't support a major ground operation in Rafah. That has not changed, and we're looking forward to having conversations with the Israelis about alternatives to those kinds of operations.
You know, there has been a large amount of criticism and skepticism as to how Israel is waging this war in the wake of the deaths of those 7 humanitarians this past week.
Yes.
You said on Tuesday the U.S. has not found any incidents where the Israelis have violated international law. How far-reaching is the U.S. investigation of Israel?
I wouldn't call it a U.S. investigation of Israel. We have a normal process the State Department runs and governs, where they take a look at incidents, particularly those that are operations being conducted by partner countries, and they look at them and they assess them. against international law. And they're doing that in real time, Margaret. So some of them they've looked at and concluded, some they're still looking at.
So they may be in violation of international law.
Thus far, as I said the other day, we've not seen any indication that they have violated international humanitarian law. But we take this seriously. They take it seriously at the State Department, and we'll keep looking at this.
Well, the Secretary General of Doctors Without Borders rejected Israel's explanation of what happened in that World Central Kitchen attack.
Yeah.
Because he lost staff in Gaza, as have other humanitarians, more than 200 dead to date. Take a listen.
We do not accept it because what has happened to World Central Kitchen and MSF's convoys and shelters is part of the same pattern of deliberate attacks on humanitarians, health workers, journalists, UN personnel, schools and homes. This is not just about implementing an effective deconfliction mechanism. Our movements and locations are shared, coordinated and identified already. This is about impunity, a total disregard for the laws of war, and now it must become about accountability.
This isn't a mistake, he says. This is a deliberate pattern, and he is not the only aid organization to say so.
We certainly
Will there be
understand.
accountability?
We understand the frustration that they have. We share that frustration, and there have been too many aid workers killed by Israeli operations, and that is why the president was so firm with Prime Minister Netanyahu in their call this week about they've got to change the way they're doing this. And the deconfliction process does matter because there is already communication between aid workers and the IDF.
It's pointless. It's not working. It's clearly failing.
Clearly, this broke down. No question about it. We're not arguing that it hasn't. Our case to the Israelis is you got to do more. You got to do it better. It's got to improve. It's because we've already seen some aid organizations now pulling.
We got to do better, man. We just got to. I don't know how, but we'll do it. There will be accountability, but it won't come from the West. I mean, there will not be accountability. Poll context, Gantz had a high 40 projected seats a few months ago, and as his joining of the Union cabinet was seen as a showcase of national unity. Ever since, his party co-leader Zahar split from the party because he wanted to leave the cabinet since his new party is below the threshold, and in conjunction with calls for him to leave the government, he's slowly been following. There are also massive changes on the far right and far left.
Back, not just World Central Kitchen, but others. This is a time when the people of Gaza need food, water, medicine, fuel more than any.
But the president's own national security memorandum stipulates, as you know, that there can't be an impediment to delivery of aid. So is negligence, gross negligence, failure to communicate, failure to follow through to protect these aid workers a violation? Is there any accountability?
Certainly those things are not acceptable. And again, that was the tenor and the tone of the conversation that the president had with the prime minister. They have taken some measures of accountability here in the immediate wake of the World Central Kitchen.
Two soldiers.
Two were fired. We're going to be looking to see, well, first of all, we're going through the investigation ourselves right now. We want to reserve judgment until we've had a chance to look at their findings. And we certainly expect, and this is an important point, that the announcements the Israelis have made, while welcome and important, can't be the end of it. We've got to see sustained changes in the way they're operating on the ground and the way they are allowing humanitarian assistance to get in unmolested.
And as you know, the Israeli government says that had nothing to do with the president's calls. They had already planned to take some of these measures.
The president specifically asked for the measures that we saw them announce later that evening and in the coming day.
Oh, God.
We'll see if they follow.
Oh, God, it's so fucking cooked. It's so extra cooked that, like, they're saying that the president doesn't even have a hand in this. It's just kind of happening on its own. That's crazy. That certainly makes things worse.
Follow through. The former defense secretary, who you know well, Leon Panetta, said on CNN, in the past, in my experience, the Israelis usually fire and then ask questions. Is the Biden administration position still that there should be zero conditions on aid, military aid to Israel?
I'm not going to get ahead of the president or decisions he might or might not make going forward. He was very clear in his call with the prime minister that if we don't see some changes in their policies in Gaza and the way they're prosecuting operations, we're going to have to make some changes of our own.
You do think these are Israeli policies then to block aid?
They get to decide how they prosecute this war. It's their operation. We just talked about them pulling troops out and what that means. They get to decide how they prosecute operations. We get to decide how we're going to react to that and how we're going to administer our own policy with respect to Gaza. We make those decisions, and the president was clear with the prime minister. If there's not changes, if things don't get better, then we're going to have to make changes of our own.
So the president is considering withholding, conditioning, doing anything here, because for 6 months now we have been hearing complaints like this. Humanitarians on this program telling us what's happening.
Look, again, we see it ourselves. We're not blind to the risks that the aid workers are in, certainly not blind to the suffering that the people of Gaza are going through. And the president, again, was clear. I won't get ahead of him, Margaret. I won't prejudge decisions he will or won't make.
Heard from him on this. If he feels so strongly, why isn't the president out there talking about this?
You saw his statement after
I
the
read a
prime
paper
minister's call with the prime minister, and he will continue to talk to the American people and the members of Congress about what we're doing and what we're not doing.
It is of direct national security concern, is it not, that as the director of national intelligence says, there is a generational impact from what is happening on the ground there.
No question.
That there could be an impact on terror recruitment long term here.
No question. I mean,
so what is the U.S. policy other than wait and see?
It's not wait and see. I have to take issue with that. That is not the policy at all. Two things can be true at once. You can still be a friend of Israel and make sure that they have what they need to defend themselves. And they do need things. I mean, we're talking about the war in Gaza, rightly so. Completely understand that. But they're under threat. They live in a tough neighborhood. They're under threat from Iran and Iran-backed groups all around. They still have a need to defend themselves. How they do that matters.
Yeah.
How they conduct these operations matters. And that's what we're talking to them about. And we need to see some changes in the how, or we'll have to make some changes in our support.
Is there a timeline for when they need to act by? Because
we're looking right now. I mean, again, they made some announcements in the few hours after the call. They made some other announcements the next day about opening up crossings. All that's welcome, but we're going to be watching this very, very closely. It has to be sustained and it has to be verifiable.
John Kirby, thank you very much.
One of the more uniquely evil individuals in this administration or in any administration is this fucking guy. I think that the fact that it is a relatively tough, like somewhat tough interview is kind of shocking. I guess like it spells that there's definitely an attitude change from mainstream media. Like the situation demands that there is infinitely tougher questions being asked, but I guess like if I pull myself out of like the immediate, it shows that the attitude from the state, or at least like the mainstream media, is changing as well. It's unheard of or unimaginable to consider someone like Nancy Pelosi, for example, demanding that America condition weapons shipments to Israel. And that's precisely what happened this past week. So I think that many, many more people are coming to that same conclusion that we in this community were at already, that like Israel's actions are unsustainable. It is actually hurting Israel. It is actually hurting America's interests in the region because they've gone above and beyond. Hurting Israel? Yes, it is. America wants Israel to continue. America wants Israel to continue being this apartheid state, or whichever, like whatever, a destabilizing, a successful destabilizing force in the region. The problem is Israel is making it virtually impossible for there not to be a broader conflict.
Damn, this guy's good.